Okay, I think we've got everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome. My name is Nicole Munson, and I am the Operations and Programs Manager at American Friends of Combatants for Peace. Great to be with you all today. Thank you for joining us. Combatants for Peace is a joint Israeli-Palestinian community working in solidarity to end the occupation, discrimination, and oppression. Um, we believe in a world where all people, from the river to the sea, live in peace and justice
جدا.
with dignity and liberty.
أنا
And
وياك
the
رح نكون
movement
سوية
was
بس.
founded about 20 years ago by Israeli and Palestinian fighters from opposing sides who chose to lay down their weapons and work together for peace and justice. And they've been nominated twice for the Nobel Peace Prize. And American Friends is the US solidarity movement that makes up a diverse community supporting combatants for peace and these joint efforts in the land, working for collective liberation for Palestine and Israel. And our talk today is called Threads of Repair, Reflections and Resolve at Year's End. So thank you for joining us at this end of year time. We'll hear from Esther and Rana, as well as two additional CFP activists and staff who will be introduced shortly. And at the close of really an unthinkable year, we're gathering now to explore how we can forge the collective work of repair, even amid the continual breaking that we're experiencing. So, a couple of housekeeping items. First, we invite you all to ask questions throughout today's talk. If you'd like to ask a question, send those in the chat to Lindsay. Her name says send questions here. And if you would also like to write in the chat your name and your location to say hello, we welcome you to go ahead and do that now as well. The second thing I want to let you all know about is that we have translation for today. So if you are speaking English and joining us, at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and possibly under the More section with the three dots, you'll see the interpretation button. You'll click that and go into the English room to hear the translation into English. And if you're speaking Arabic, you can select the Arabic room and you'll be able to hear it in Arabic. So I will also put instructions for that in the chat for all of you. Here you go. And then I would like to go ahead and introduce our moderator for today's talk, Gili Getz. Gili is an Israeli-American artist. He served as a military photographer for the Israeli army and as a news editor for Ynet. His work in recent years has focused on American Jewish political activism, and Gili is regularly published in Jewish and Israeli press and by Princeton University in the book Trouble in the Tribe, The American Jewish Conflict Over Israel by Professor Dov Waxman. Gili has performed across the country in numerous theatrical productions. His latest one-man play, The Forbidden Conversation, explores the challenges of having a conversation about Israel, Palestine, and the American Jewish community. The play premiered at the Center for Jewish History in the spring of 2016 and has been touring the country since. So Gili has been working for peace and against occupation for many years and is deeply honored to support CFP, joint resistance, and the struggle for freedom and dignity for both Israelis and Palestinians. And also part of his bio is that he is the chair of our board here in the US. And we're so thankful to have him moderating today's talk. So Gili, I want to go ahead and hand it over to you to take us away.
Thank you so much, Nicole and Lindsay and Tiffany and the AFCFP team, and for your amazing work and this collective ad series. Thank you all for joining us, for watching this recording, and for all you do to support our work for collective liberation, co-resistance, justice, and peace, to free Palestinians and Israelis from systems of supremacy, violence, and hate from the river to the sea. We show in ourselves and our societies and the world that peace is possible through joint action and rehumanization. So we're deeply honored to hear today from inspiring, courageous, and visionary leaders and activists in our movement. We are proud to be a women-led movement. Work is extremely difficult and challenging on many fronts. We are grateful to have you with us. So please write your questions in the chat. Before I introduce our speakers, I want to do a quick framing of our very difficult reality the movement is operating in. Despite the so-called ceasefire in Gaza, the Israeli military continues killing and preventing life-saving aid and evacuating people who need care, and any really serious rebuilding efforts. Makeshift tents are flooding with water. People are freezing, desperate for care and basic necessities. According to the UN World Health Organization, more than 16,000 patients, including 4,000 children, require medical evacuation. Nearly 400 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire, including 2 small children recently collecting wood, who crossed the invisible yellow line that cuts the Gaza Strip in half. The Israeli military referred to them as terrorists as part of this wide-scale systemic dehumanization of people in Gaza following a genocidal war after the October 7 Hamas massacre. Despite the agreement in the Trump plan, people who left Gaza are not allowed to return. Many doctors and medical staff are prevented from going in. Hamas is regaining control of parts of Gaza and violently crushing Palestinian dissent. In the West Bank, we see an escalating campaign of ethnic cleansing in Area C through state and settler violence and terror. This is part of an ongoing violent annexation process and ongoing campaign of displacement of Palestinian communities from their lands. More than 220 Palestinians were killed in the West Bank this year. This year's olive harvest season, an extremely important cultural and economic period, was marked by unprecedented level of assault on farmers, trees, and agricultural infrastructure. 364 incidents of violence reported, including assault, theft, burning of property and groves, killing livestock, and cutting down trees. Armed soldiers or uniform-wearing settlers. It's very confusing since they're indistinguishable, often stood by or took part in the violence. Over 140 new illegal outposts have been established, terrorizing Palestinian communities like the one near El-Khair. We have friends. Settlers have carried out over 1,600 attacks on Palestinians that have led to casualties of property damage this year with absolute impunity. They also attack Israelis and internationals who come to do solidarity work that's fairly new, and even IDF soldiers who stand in the way of the settlers. The occupation is spreading inside Israel as well. The Israeli government is continuing to dismantling democratic institutions, rule of law, the courts, checks on power, and cracking down on dissent and freedom of expression, proving that what our activists have been saying, our movement has been saying for a long time: there is no democracy without occupation, and no one will be free or safe under the system of violence and supremacy. But there is another way, and CFP has been at the forefront of showing it and paving it. And I am so honored to introduce our speakers today. Rana Salman is the Palestinian co-CEO of Combatants for Peace. She joined the movement in 2020. She previously co-founded and serves as Director of Project Management for Peace by Peace Tours, a travel company that offered educational and political tours in Israel and Palestine. She holds a BA in English Language and Literature from the Bethlehem University and a diploma in tour guiding in Bethlehem Bible College. She's our fierce leader on the Palestinian side, and so happy to have her on here as always. Esther is an Israeli executive director of Combatants for Peace. She helped lead a successful NGO in Hungary and was worked across various international settings, including Italy, the Netherlands, and Israel since 2013. Esther has been based in Israel, living in Jerusalem. Esther is deeply committed to promoting peace, social justice, and cross-culture understanding with focus on empowering communities. So great to have you, Esther, here. Fatima. Fatima is a Gazan activist and a Palestinian Freedom School coordinator and at Combatants for Peace, where she supports and uplifts the next generation of Palestinian Israeli youth leaders. Before joining CFP, Fatima volunteered at a first responders with the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, serving as a paramedic, health educator, and risk assessor across Gaza. She previously worked as a field researcher with Islamic Relief Worldwide in the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Liron was born in a kibbutz, Kinneret, next to the Sea of Galilee, fourth generation member of the founding kibbutz family, and was raised with an awareness of occupation and a commitment to nonviolence resistance. During her army service, she guided groups across Upper Galilee and later earned a degree in biology and ecology. For the past 2 decades, she has been an educator and class teacher in the Waldorf School of Beersheba, where I'm from. Liron lives in Nir Moshe, not far from the Gaza Strip, with her husband Yuval and their 5 sons. She has been active in Combatants for Peace in the last 4 years, and before the 7th of October, in Road to Recovery, an NGO volunteers bringing Palestinians from Gaza to hospitals in Israel and the West Bank to receive health care, and even then that was not available in Gaza. I'd like to turn my first question to all 4 of you. Maybe I'll start with Fatima asking, how are you and how's your family in Gaza? And the question of this was a very difficult year, of course, of injustice and resilience. And as leaders in the CFP movement, what stands out for you for this year? What are the difficult moments? And there's so many. What's the hope for progress? What you will remember most about this year? So, Fatima, let's start with you. So good to see you. Assalamu alaikum.
مرحبا ويعطيكم
Good
العافية
evening,
وشكرا كثير
and
على
thank you very much
حضوركم ودعمكم
for being
المستمر
here
لحركة
and
القتل
really
والهجرة
wanting
السلام.
to know
أنا
about what
اسمي
we are doing in
فاطمة
Combatants for Peace. My name is
ويمكن
Fatma,
راح أجاوب
and I
إجابة
will
ممكن كثير تكون
answer
موجعة بس هي
something that
حقيقية.
might be very
سألني عن
painful, but
أهلي.
it's
أنا
my
اللي
truth. I was
بغزة
asked about my
بعاني وتحت
family. My
الحرب
family in Gaza really
والألم
suffering
والظلم والحصار
because of the
والمجاعة
siege, because of
اللي لا زالت مستمرة رغم
the
انتهاء
hunger,
الحرب
because of
وإعلان
the
وقف إطلاق
situation
النار
is still continuing
باتفاقية
even after
رئيس
the
ترامب، ولكن لا
ceasefire.
زالت الحرب قائمة بقطاع غزة.
We still have
يمكن
war
عام
in Gaza even
2025
after
هو كان من
stopping the
أكثر
war,
الأعوام اللي
what's
ترك
supposed to be stopping the
ذكريات
war.
مؤلمة وموجعة.
And I have a very,
في
very hard
ذاكرتنا
memories
جميعا،
from
وممكن بالأخص
being
أنا
in Gaza,
فاطمة
and mostly
فقدت
me.
أعز
I
ما
lost
أملك خلال
the
الإبادة
most
هي أمي.
precious thing that I
فقدت
have in my
جزء
life.
كبير من
I lost
عائلتي،
my
من أفراد
mom,
أسرتي،
a big part of my
وبالتالي
family,
الألم
members
بيختلط
of my family.
بالصمود
The pain
وبالصبر
is
وبالقوة،
there, but
وهذا
we
الألم
still
هو اللي
have
بيخليني
power.
اليوم موجودة
And this
بينكم
is what
وأحكي
still
بصوتي،
make me be here
إنه
with you and
هاي
speak with my
الأوجاع لا
voice,
زالت
and to
محفورة في
speak about
ذاكرتي.
very painful moments that I still have in my
لا زال
memory.
كل ما تعرضت له قطاع غزة
And everything that is
بعام
happening in
2025
Gaza
هو
in
ألم
2000 and
محفور
25 is a
تلامس قلوبنا
pain
جميعا.
that we feel in our
يمكن
hearts,
الإشي
all
اللي
of us.
بيعطيني الأمل
And what
إنه
gives me
إحنا
hope
بهذا
is
العام
that we, in
اشتغلنا
this
بشكل
year,
كبير
we
مع
worked
فئة أهم
together
شيء المهم ألا وهي فئة
with the
الشباب
most
اللي
important
إحنا
group in
عمالنا
society,
نشتغل
which
عليها
was
لحتى تكون
teenagers.
قادرة على
And we
حماية
still work with
حقوقنا
teenagers
وإنسانيتنا وعدالة
in
والعدالة
order to
المطلقة اللي إحنا
protect our
بننادي بيها
humanity
دائما بالمحافل الدولية.
and what we are
كمان
doing in
مشاهد
the international world.
العائلات اللي فقدت
And
بيوتها
also we help
فقدت أطفالها
families who lost
والنساء
their
اللي
houses.
فقدت الأجنة في رحمها. ممكن هاي المظاهر كلها هي بتعطيني القوة والشجاعة
And we
صادقين
still
في
have
ردنا
power.
الميداني إنه لازم في يوم من الأيام نحصل على السلام والعدل والعيش بسلام وتحقيق العدالة والديمقراطية.
Sorry.
ممكن هذا الإشي اللي يعطيني أمل.
I'm sorry, just a second.
And our translator took a quick break, and we'll be right back to translating, hopefully. Maybe in the meanwhile,
I'm sorry, I'm here with you. I'll try again.
Thank you so much.
So, Fatma was saying that the most painful thing that happened to her is that she lost her mother, and although she still have a lot of hope.
ممكن اللحظات الأمل والتقدم
The
اللي
moments of
بتعطي
hope
قوة وعزيمة إنه
that give me
في
a lot
أصعب
of
الظروف اللي إحنا
strength
عشناها
is the
إنه إحنا
fact
بدنا
that we
السلام
can
وإنه
show
السلام
that we
إشي مش
want peace.
مستحيل وإنه
Peace is
السلام
not
ممكن
impossible,
يتحقق والعدالة
and we
ممكن
can
تجلب
have
السلام
peace,
والديمقراطية
and we can
والحرية
bring
من خلال
democracy and
حوارات
freedom,
السلام مع المجتمع
and
الإسرائيلي
we do
والمجتمع
it
الفلسطيني.
through the
هذا اللي بيعطي الأمل
dialogues
والقوة
that we do
لفاطمة
between the Israeli and
ولأولادي
Palestinian
ولبيتي ولأسرتي
societies,
الموجودة
and I
بالقطاع.
want peace for my family and for all people.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Really appreciate your leadership and your work on the Freedom School. It is so inspiring and so visionary and brave. And thank you so much for that. Maybe now, in the tradition of Combatants for Peace, we do an Israeli and Palestinian Israeli. And if Esther is here, Esther, are you here? I don't see you.
Yeah.
There you
I'm
are.
here.
Hello.
Hi.
So if you can talk to us a little bit about the last year, about the challenges, about the hopeful sign, about all the incredible activity that CFP does in this really, really difficult reality, things that stand up for you over this last year of work.
So I agree with Fatma that one of the most meaningful things that we do is the work with youth that we do actually uninationally on in Israel and in Palestine, because we know that especially now it's very, very difficult for the youth to face the narrative of the other and also to face another kind of narrative of their own. So we want to give them the space of using their mother tongue, of meeting with peers, and also building community. Because after all, what we want is that these young people become activists, not necessarily with CFP, but on the field of peace building and with non-violent binational resistance. And we want them to also start fast and not to burn out. So we also recognize that building community, which is also very important for CFP in general, is one of the key issues. And we want to start it with the core, with their own national groups. And then after, when they complete the programs, they join our programs and also create their own binational meetings and settings, and partly we also create it for them. So I think the fact that we went on with these programs, and we even managed to have in November very successful weekend for the binational alumni group of these two leadership programs. It's something, and we did it on the land. There are other organizations who managed to bring youth abroad, which is, of course, very, very important. And also it can be a life-changing experience, leaving the land and just breathing and doing something together. But it's not possible for everyone. And while we organize these meetings in Area C, which is reachable by car or by bus for all the participants, I find it very, very important and crucial. The other thing I would like to highlight is the demonstrations that we organized and silent sit-ins that we organized together in Palestine, in Beit Jala, in Area C, which is again reachable for everyone. And I think also the process we went there, it's very important because the Israeli members of CFP, we participated in all the demonstrations. Also, when this government went into power, and also after the 7th of October, when the demonstrations got the turn of focusing on demanding to end the war. Also, our activists were one of the leading groups of showing pictures from Gaza of dead children in Gaza, with the hope that it will create a bit of empathy, not only for the hostages, which is of course very, very important, and it has been a very important struggle. We wanted to show that there are 2 million people in Gaza suffering. So we were there in Israel bringing the voices of Palestinians to these demonstrations, because I'm sure a lot of you know that since the 7th of October, basically no Palestinians have permits to come to Israel, not for doing peace work, not for working. So they couldn't come, which was the case before the 7th of October. We had a lot of our members. Jamil gave a speech, Suli gave a speech in the main square of Tel Aviv, but it's not the reality anymore. And at a certain point, actually, the Palestinians started to say, okay, it's nice that you bring our voices, but we have to do something together. We have to find a way to show solidarity for people in Gaza, to demand to stop the war, not just through bringing the voices and reading speeches or showing a video inside Israel, but let's do it together. And we had a few also previously, a few demonstrations, but in August we decided to have a series of demonstrations just like in Israel. So we protested every week for 7 weeks. And then we decided to turn it to a monthly demonstration. So we had one just in the middle of November. We will have one also next Friday. And we also organized one jointly together with the Women in White, for only women. And we always choose a topic. So it was the journalists being killed in Gaza. It was the children being killed in Gaza. The last one was about settler violence and not permitting the olive harvest to happen for Palestinians this year. So I think our steadfastness and finding a creative way to bring Palestinians and Israelis together to also demonstrate and have this agency that we create a space together, it's a huge success of the year.
Thank you so much, Esther. It's really incredible to see. Thank you. Rana, so can I ask you to also reflect on this year and maybe touch on a lot of the joint work, definitely the joint protests in resistance has to happen in Majala in the West Bank, because it's the only place where we can come together. So if you can talk a little bit about the challenging of organizing a joint protest, it's really, everybody points to that as an extremely unique, a courageous thing to do in this reality of extreme violence. Can you talk a bit about what does it take to bring people to protest together, giving the asymmetries of power and giving the imbalances that always exist in everything we do, and generally about this year, what brings you hope, or what one of the many moments of challenges?
Thank you, Gilly. I think you asked me so many questions, so I will try to answer them
As I
all.
always do.
It's very, very nice to be here and to see so many people joining. So thank you for that. That actually is an act of solidarity to come here and hear our voices and our stories. Esther actually mentioned like the joint protest that we have been doing over the summer and other activities that we have been holding, including the hunger strike that we have done several times in solidarity with Gaza, and also to shed light about what's happening on the ground. I think for me, like what's really describes this whole year is that there has been two truths about this year, which holds so much unbearable pain and at the same time unwavering courage by our activists. Um, this is what gives me hope, is that it always reminds us why we continue to do this work, how people continue to show up to these protests uh, every week, side by side, protesting and raising their voices, raising the signs and their messages, coming together for olive tree planting, for olive picking, for protective presence, even for our young people who participate in our programs. It was very proud moments when we see those young people becoming leaders in our activities, in their communities. We had two alumni also co-hosting the joint Nakba Remembrance ceremony this year. So to see them taking that leading roles, it's what we are working for this next generation. So basically, this year has been, what I would remember out of it is the resilience and the persistence of our activists, despite all the restrictions of movement and all the challenges on the ground. They continue to show up every time, and they continue to raise their voices, and they never give up on each other. That's what actually gives me hope. And I will just share that we were planning a joint seminar for our activists this week, and one of the challenges is not to be able to find a space that can actually host us as a joint movement where we can spend at least 2 days together to share reflections and to plan and to have that kind of space for dialogue. Unfortunately, even if there are no halls that can have us, we decided still to do our activity and go to the Jordan Valley and to do restoration of water canals for the Bedouin communities before the rainy season, and to have the desert as our space to come together and meet and share, because that's the point. That's what is most important for us, to have the ability to continue our joint work despite all the challenges that are created to actually divide us. But we continue to do that on the ground and bring people together and co-resist and persist to change the reality on the ground.
Thank you so much, Aran. It's really, really incredible and very, very difficult work. Leon, can I ask? I can see you, but I'll see you in a second. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. So if I can ask you, you're an Israeli who choose to do solidarity and joint work and binational work with Palestinians. I wonder if you can reflect about this year and what is it like, to deal with a society that has very little space for a work like this after October 7 and being consumed with bringing the hostages back and the judicial coup and how did you come to this point, and how is your environment reacting to that, and your reflection about this year, about difficult moments and definitely things that bring you hope?
I believe I live near a Gaza Strip, so I hear every time the bombs, and it's terrible. And there is no ceasefire, so I think that I feel that all the time I'm in it, and I can't forget it. It's not that I hear it from the broadcast or something. It's real time, so it's very, very hard. I want to mention a moment in this year. I agree with Rana and with Esther. All the joint demonstrations were amazing, very, very good. But I want to mention a special event. I was one of the people that were responsible for the joint memorial ceremony. And for me, one of the most significant moments in this year was when we gathered at Bejala for a feedback conversation about the joint ceremony. It was a conversation to reflect on what happened and learn. And there were several difficult moments in this year's ceremony in which people were hurt, in which we were not accurate, in which we were wrong. And the fact that we, with the pain, perhaps also the disagreement, we were able to sit together, to listen, learn, talk openly about relationships and about narratives, and simply be together. There is no substitute for this thing. This is what gives me meaning. It's like a lighthouse to walk by its light. And I think every time that we gather together, and like Esther said, not just bring the voices, but be together and demonstrate together, walk together, plant olive trees together. This is the place that I feel meaningful for live here. Otherwise, I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leon. So just remember to put your questions. I'll do another round of questions and then a few more, and then we can open it up to, and I'll ask questions in the chat or ones you submit. So I'll go to Fatima again. And Fatima, can you talk a little bit about this this path of nonviolence and co-resistance, and your work with the Freedom School? The Freedom School has a Palestinian youth from all over the West Bank, and what is it like for you to meet Israelis, given our societies are so far apart and don't communicate outside the gun? What's your experience talking with Israelis, and what's the Freedom School's experience? People who choose this path of nonviolence and collective liberation, in the work you do with them.
شكرا. يمكن هذا سؤال
Thank you
كثير
very
مهم.
much. This is a very important question.
شغلي مع مدرسة الحرية
My work with Freedom School with youth is what gives me hope to continue to open a new relationship with the other side, with the Israeli side and the Israeli students. The Palestinian students are coming from very far, from different places in the West Bank. They are going through checkpoints. They still arrive to meet Israeli students from the Israeli Freedom School, and this shows that they have hope, that we know that violence brings only violence, and we need to break this circle of violence. The students, they believe and they have purpose, that they want to live in freedom and in peace and democracy. they left the weapon aside and they are coming in order to look for democracy and justice and freedom. We also look for strength, and I get also strength and power and energy from people who suffered from the settlers, like the agricultural people who work in this field, and I see that we can support them and we can help them in Combatants for Peace. This is something that also gives me strength. And when I look about the students, I want for them and also my children, they give me hope, and I want them to have a different future than the way I live. I want them to have peace and justice and freedom in their life. Also, I believe in the common work, and this is something that protects our life and gives us a respectful life, and it gives us option to protect what we still have, like as long as we still have the occupation, we still want like to work about the mutual resistance, and we are societies that we have a wall between us, but I can still convince people that are afraid to come and to work with us. This is something that when I see them coming, it gives me energy and good energies to come and to continue my work.
Thank you so much, Fatima. And Esther, can you also talk a little bit about what it's like to bring Israelis in this current climate to meet with Palestinians? It's a very big jump Israelis have to do to go to the West Bank and meet with Israelis from a society that largely dehumanizes Palestinians and considered it a big threat. How do young people that come to the work or activists that come to do solidarity, if you can talk a little bit about kind of that, finding that way of nonviolence and peacemaking and co-resistance, what usually do you find? What brings them there, or what process they have to go to get to that place?
Yeah, I think I would start with something that it usually gets a bit unnoticed or forgotten when we speak in international context. And it is that also Israelis and most of the Israeli society, they are traumatized and live in a huge fear, especially since the 7th of October. Sometimes this fear, of course, is not logical, but fear never is. Because if we look at the numbers, of course, it's not nearly as bad as the Palestinians have been through, of course, in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. But still, also Israel is a small country, so I think everyone knows at least a person who lost a person on the 7th of October or afterwards, or was hostage, or so there is a lot of fear and trauma which we have to work with. And I think one of the keys is that we recognize this, which is in the peace camp, and when we talk about supporting Palestinians and collective liberation and ending the occupation, it's something that a lot of times goes forgotten. And also we as Israelis working in this field, we want to have some kind of consciousness of the very, very not equal power relations, and that we are the occupiers. So we tend to not to focus on ourselves. And something we've been practicing especially since the 7th of October, is somehow to keep also this trauma, and together with it, realize that this is very, very minor when you compare it to the Palestinians. But trauma is not something that you can really compare. It's for each and every person, it's individual. And unfortunately, what most of the Israeli society does, especially with the government, also a lot of the educational process, is to forget the fear and trauma of Palestinians and only to focus on the Israeli one, which is, of course, something that we want to counter and balance as much as we can with our very limited powers. So basically, I think this is the key to our work, that we go and say, like, it's legitimate. Hey, it's fine that you are scared to cross a checkpoint. It's fine that you are scared for the first time. And then because we have a very, very true and deep partnership and friendship with our Palestinian colleagues and co-activists, and we do the struggle together, it's once the person is able to do this step, of course, with our support, then they usually experience a very, very holding space where they usually find themselves very comfortable. And when not, when they were like half ready and decided to take the step and it was still too much, then we are there to listen and, give tools for them to process what happened and why they were not ready for coming and doing joint struggle. And a lot of times after we have a talk, after they process it, they come back and they choose to continue working or doing activism with us or with other groups.
Thank you. Yeah, this work has required some type of transformation and dealing with both traumas in same. And Rana, can I ask you on the Palestinian side about people joining this path or finding this path that, like in both societies, is controversial, especially since most Palestinians see the genocide and the idea of working with Israelis while there being, many communities are being in the process of expulsion, and many communities already been forcefully removed, especially in Masafayata or in the Jordan Valley. The idea of working with Israelis, I know it's extremely controversial. If you can just reflect about what people who arrive to this work, what type of process they go through and what brings them to joint struggle and nonviolence and work for peace.
Yeah, it's actually a process. It's never easy for Palestinians to come and meet Israelis for the first time, because we grow up with those stereotypes about the other, with the fear also from the other, and with the experiences that we face on a daily basis, like with the military, with the violent settlers, with the restrictions, with the humiliation that people go through. So basically, these are the things that are built up in our minds about the other. So what we do in our programs is that we work uninationally first, because we need to have that space for conversations, for uninational conversations, and also to prepare those young people for the difficult conversations, and to be open to hear the perspectives and the narratives of the other. And in our Palestinian Freedom School, we actually work with the young people for about 6 months before they are transferred into joint initiatives and joint dialogue programs, because they need also to understand who we are as a joint movement, what we do, and to understand also about the nonviolence and nonviolent co-resistance and our values and principles. To be able also to share their personal stories when they are actually in that setting. And I don't deny that the first meeting usually is very fragile, like we need to be really able to hold the space, because there is so much fear also from the other, and intergenerational traumas. And people still face violence today, like those young people even coming to the program, on their way to the meeting, they might face delays on the checkpoint, they might be beaten, they might be stopped. So they face anyway these kind of challenges. So when they come to the room, and they see the other. So this is what comes into their minds. So yeah, it's very important, but we feel also that there is a lot of participation also from Palestinian young people to join, and I think that's also part of looking for an alternative and looking for a community where they feel that they can belong to, because we offer something different. We model also something different, a different future. And I'm very proud to see those young people choosing to be part of that future. And that's why we continue to work with them.
Thank you so much, Rana. And I think that that's one of the most important work of the movement is to create, to bring into reality this different model of existence. And while people experience it, they see that it's possible. Maybe it ignites their imagination of what's possible, and that's really a big part of the transformation. And obviously, it's very difficult. So before I go to the audience question, there's so many great questions, and I do want to ask as many as I can. But before that. Leon, if we can quickly, and maybe you can all answer what your hopes are for next year. And I know it's a loaded question. I don't like asking it, but what should we be doing outside of Israel, Palestine? What would you like us to be doing? Obviously, support this kind of work. But if you can all just say quickly what's your expect. The reason I don't like this question is because we put it on you to fix us. But what would you like to see the international community doing? People outside of Israel, Palestine, advocating for to help you do this solidarity work and building peace.
Just ongoing conversation on the situation, ongoing in your daily life, all the time. I think that's the solidarity with us, ongoing conversation.
Great. And maybe Fatima, you can say something about what you hope the next year will bring and what can we do to help you outside Israel, Palestine.
يعني أنا بتمنى إنه
I hope
تكونوا صدى لأصوات الضحايا
that you will be the voice of the victims, that you will protect the rights of people who lost their rights, and that you will continue to support us in order to build leaders like youth leaders for freedom in order to get their rights, and also that you will be our voices and supporting in our alliances to protect us and protect our rights and our lands and help us to finish, to end the war, that I will be able to see my family, what was left from my family, that I will be able to see them and to have peace here and future for my children and your children, a future that will be with a hope and democracy and justice. This is what I hope for. And this is what my heart and my people and my family in Gaza Strip are wishing for.
Inshallah. Thank you, Fatima. So, Rana and Esther, I'll start asking some of the questions. I'm trying to wrap a few questions in one question. And one of the questions is, what does peace mean? It means different things to different people, right? We deal with two different societies and, here in the United States and that have a different vision of peace. So when we talk about building peace for all, of course, and safety and security and equality, what does that mean, since we are dealing with people that come from very different background and very different ideas of what peace mean, and what the movement is modeling something that is very non-common. And so that's one of the questions. And the other question is, how do you deal with BDS? How do you deal with anti-normalization efforts that often prevent this type of dialogue for a variety of reasons, and many questions about the Freedom School. Maybe we'll have those later if we have time. But generally, what does that mean when we talk about peace? What do we actually are saying in the movement?
Okay, so I think for a long time we stopped using the word peace in our movement, and we now talk about or speak about and advocate for collective liberation, because as we believe that no one is free until everyone is free, and we want to liberate the oppressed and the oppressor, and that's actually what we work for. I think for the last 2 years we have been witnessing so much grief and loss and destruction and catastrophe in a sense. It's a crisis that we never experienced before. And then there was Trump coming with a peace plan. What does peace mean? For us people here on the ground and looking at the plan, for us, this is not peace. Peace doesn't mean ceasefire. Because actually, as you mentioned in the very beginning, there was not actually ever a ceasefire. People continue to be killed in Gaza on a daily basis. Violence continue to be escalated in the West Bank. Settlers are being terrorized in communities all over the West Bank. So there is not an actual peaceful moment, whether in the West Bank or Gaza or in Israel also as well. Because what we are seeing also from this extreme right-wing government, it's not in the agenda of in their agenda, they do not look for the future of their own people and their safety and security, and basically to look towards a solution that will guarantee that both sides will live in security, safety, dignity, with respect to human rights. So for us, peace doesn't mean to go back to the status quo or to go back to October 6th, because that wasn't also peaceful. Going back to managing the conflict, as we have seen, it doesn't work anymore. We are looking towards a real, sustainable, peaceful solution, a future for both people living side by side, and to see that human rights, upholding of human rights for both. Currently, so many violations of human rights have been happening with no accountability, no questions. And that's why we need the international community, especially in solidarity with us as we advocate for changing these policies that don't support the people in Palestine and Israel. For your other questions about the PDS, it is one of the challenges that we face in our work, because it also limits our meetings or what we do. But basically, we believe that we are not normalizing the situation. We do not normalize the occupation. We work together in solidarity to end the occupation and bring a just, peaceful solution to the land. So for us, we don't see that as part of what we do. Our normalization for us, it doesn't define us in a sense, because our activities, our programs are completely different. We are activists, we're a grassroots movement working on the ground to change the reality for both people. And what we respond is that by continuing to do what we do despite all the challenges and the difficulties, because we believe that this is the way, and we don't see an alternative. This is the way, and we have tried before. Our founders have tried violence before. It didn't lead us anywhere. We continue to be stuck in that same cycle of violence, and to be able to break it and start working for something different. I think that's what we are looking for, the vision, which we see that all people between the river and the sea will live on this land in respect, in dignity, in security, in safety, in liberty. That's our main vision.
Yes, and that's what peace means at the end of the day, the very vision you articulated. Esther, we have some questions about people want to connect to the movement when they come to the land. out of here. There's also a question about how do you bring the work to Jewish communities in the United States. I'll add that we have tours, and you definitely should reach out to us so we can, maybe bring our activists to spaces and talk about the work to your community, just be in touch in general. But when people go to the land, there's a question, how do they get to go to the West Bank and meet Palestinians and be part of this work? Of course, there's the joint memorial ceremony, the joint Nakba ceremony. Maybe we can mention it's a great opportunity to plug in. But in general, when people come to visit and want to connect, what should they do?
Okay, so it's also how to work with communities abroad, wherever people are, and how they can connect in the land, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, when you want to speak with your own community abroad, which I know that it sometimes can be super, super difficult, we do give talks to groups also abroad via Zoom. So something like what we are doing now, but then personalized or tailored for the communities. So please feel free to reach out. Sometimes we also have tours both in the US and in Europe. It's not finalized yet, but we are thinking of a tour in the US for the end of February, beginning of March. And also in Europe, we have some plans in Germany for April and maybe some other things. And of course via Zoom. That's also a more easier option and more flexible, but of course the personal meeting is always the best. And also we have mostly in Hebrew and Arabic, but we do have some learning processes that we developed for Memorial Day, for Nakba ceremony. And also we are in the process of developing something to support the talks that we give. The talks are, by the way, always by a Palestinian and an Israeli, telling their personal stories and also answering questions from the group. And we are developing now a support question set that the leader or the coordinator or the teacher can use. And so we will be happy to provide that once it's ready. And when you come to the land, there are groups and tour guides that specialize in bringing people to meet Palestinians, to meet Palestinian reality. There is a group called CGNWay, Center for Jewish Nonviolence, that organize protective presence throughout the year. They also have a longer program, which is called Hineinu. I can type it in the chat afterwards, so you can check them out. So you can come with them. There is Majdi tours, there is Abraham tours, Green Olive tours. So some tour guiding companies that you can contact also from abroad, and then they organize geopolitical tours, critical narrative tours, and also sometimes volunteering with Palestinians. So that's also an option. And once you are planning a trip, then also feel free to reach out, because it might be that we have an activity where you can join something on the field. We do that often. So whenever you know and you have plans, then feel free to reach out. And if there is something fitting, then we will be also happy if you join us.
Thank you, Esther. And there is a privilege that you bring with you as an American citizen or as a Jewish American, that if it brings more attention. It used to prevent violence. It doesn't anymore, but it is definitely a way to experience the reality in the land, help with protective presence, and then definitely communicate that reality to the different communities that your community and other communities, so they better understand the reality of both sides, not just of one side. Fatima, there are questions about the Freedom School. What happens after the Freedom School? When the students finish, do they stay in touch? Is there what is there any activity after, and what happens?
طيب أنا لأني يعني أغلب الأسئلة عن مدرسة الحرية والأغلب
Most
بده
of
يعرف
the
شو مدرسة الحرية
questions
يعني رح أحكي
about the
باختصار
Freedom
سياسي
School,
إنه
I
مدرسة
will
الحرية
speak
بيتم من
shortly.
خلالها عمل لقاءات شهرية
We do a monthly
لطلاب
meetings
فلسطينيين
for
في
students,
أول 6
Palestinian
شهور.
students.
هاي
This
الشهور
is the
بيتم
first
إعطاء
6
الطلاب مواضيع
months,
عن تخص
and
القضية
we teach
الفلسطينية،
them
عن السلام، عن
about the
المقاومة العربية، المقاومة المشتركة،
peace,
عن
non-violence,
الذكرى، عن
resistance,
بعد
about working
الهولوكوست.
together, about the
بعد ذلك
Holocaust, about
بيتم ترويج
the
فوز
Nakba, different topics, and then they
مدرسة
graduate
الخريجين من
and they
خلال هذه
move to the
المدرسة
school
بيتم
of
عمل لقاءات
graduates,
دورية
and
مع
then they have
طلاب
meetings
المدرسة
with
الإسرائيلية،
Israeli
وكمان
students.
بيتم دمجهم في نشاطات
And
المؤسسة
then
مقاومة
we
السلام،
combine them
وكمان
in the
بيتم
activities of
تدريبهم
Combatants for
على
Peace. And then we also
نشاطات
send
أو
them to be
ورشات
parts
عمل
of
لقاءات
different
مع
workshops or
مؤسسات شريكة
meetings and
بالخارج.
activities with other
اللقاءات مستمرة مع طلاب
organizations also
مدرسة
abroad.
الحرية الإسرائيلية تقريبا
The
بالسنة
Israeli
بنلتقي 4
students
مرات أو 3
and
مرات،
the Palestinians,
ومن
they meet
خلالها
3 or
تناقش
4
قضايا
times.
سياسية،
And then we
قضايا
speak
مجتمعية،
about
قضايا
different political topics,
الخيال السياسي.
social
وعندي ورشات
topics.
عمل عن كيف
We
إنه
do
إحنا
workshops
نتخطى
about
كل
how
الآلام
we
والحزن اللي
can
إحنا عم بنعيشه لنقوم
get
بقضايا
over all the
إنه كيف إنه
painful
نتغاضى
situation that we live and how we
للمستقبل،
can create
وكيف إنه
leaders
إحنا
for the future
نعزز فيهم
and how we can
الحرية والعدالة،
help them to
نعزز
work more
فيهم
for
سياسة
peace
التضامن،
and
سياسة
justice
السلام مع
and solidarity and peace
والإنسانية والعدالة
and
والديمقراطية.
humanity
هذا
and
يعني باختصار
democracy.
شديد للناس
And this
اللي
is like
بتسأل عن
shortly for the
مدرسة
people who
الحرية.
ask about
مدرسة الحرية
the
تقريبا
school,
إحنا
the Freedom
حاليا
School.
مستمرين فيها.
Now we
وصلنا
continue
لغاية
with this
البرج
project.
السابع.
We
معنا
now have the
تقريبا حسب السنين
seventh
من
year.
طالب وطالبة هم
We
على
have
قائمة
almost
الخريجين.
100
بنتمنى إنه
graduates,
إحنا
and
تستمر
we
هذه
hope to continue
اللقاءات وهذه
in these
المسيرات
meetings
للطلاب
and this process
حتى
for
إنه
students
إحنا نجند أكبر عدد ممكن
in
من
order to
الطلاب
bring
والشباب
also
الفلسطينيين في
more
الضفة الغربية وكل
students,
المحافظات
Palestinians in
بالضفة.
the West Bank,
وكمان يعني
from all
بحب
around the West Bank.
أنوه لشغلة
And I
إنه
want you also
خلال
to
حرب
notice
الإبادة
that
على قطاع غزة
during the genocide on Gaza,
انقطعنا قليلا ثم
we
عدنا
stopped
بأكثر
our
قوة
activities
وعزيمة
for a
وإصرار
while, and now
وإلحاح من
we
الطلاب
renew
على
our meetings
الاستمرارية
with
في
more
اللقاءات
power
مع
and
الطلاب بالجانب الإسرائيلي
more energy
لنقل
with
القضايا ولنقل
the meetings
الأفكار
with the Israeli
ولكي يكون
students
يعني
because we
جزء
want
بسيط منا
them
بتغيير
to see and to
الأفكار
know the
وتغيير
reality
المعتقدات
and to
ونشر
change
سياسة
the way
المحبة
they
ونشر
think, and we
سياسة
want to
السلام،
spare
إنه إحنا كمان
the
شعب
idea
بدنا
of
نعيش
love
بحرية،
and
شعب بدنا
the
نعيش
idea of
بكرامة.
peace. We want to
وإنتوا
live with
صوتنا
respect
وإنتوا
and love.
رسالتنا وإنتوا إعلامنا وإنتوا الرسالة الحقيقية
And
اللي
you
ممكن
are
ننتقلها في كل المحافل الدولية.
the message that we want to
شكرا.
deliver all around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fatima. Yaron, there's a question about, about Israelis who choose to rehumanize Palestinians. One of my hopeful moments was when, I was in Kaplan and I saw hundreds of Israelis holding photos of Palestinians, children that died in Gaza, in a climate that it's challenging because of the October 7 trauma, because of the ongoing coup and the authoritarianism and the destruction of kind of what my mother says, I never believed this could happen in this country, and trying to connect that to the occupation and all that. And so the question is, as an Israeli who choose to rehumanize Palestinians, What's the reaction from to my surprise, when in Kaplan, when the big anti-government protests went by these posters, nobody freaked out. I mean, not everybody was happy, but everybody looked, some people nodded. It seemed to be normalized in some way that we do show photos of, not everybody agrees with it, but the question is, what's the reaction to Israelis like you who choose to fully rehumanize Palestinians and make the connection between their suffering and our suffering as Israelis?
Actually, I'm not a regular person because my community agree with me, and I live in a very small community, a philosophical community, and all of them they are not activists like me, but they agree with me, and I don't feel stranger, so so I can't tell about the other Israelis, and I can say that when I was holding these pictures, I felt that every Saturday more and more people join us, and it was very special. I was amazed that it came more and more. It became bigger and bigger in every Saturday. So it was very touching. But I'm not a regular Israeli, so sorry, I can't say about it anything, because really my community, they all think like me. I can say that for my children, it's not easy. Every one of them has conflicts with their friends. None of them, 3 of them can go to the army. None of them they didn't have army service. They refused, and it's not easy for them. One in the university, every one of them deal with something, with conflicts, but they are very strong, and I'm very proud of them. And I think they know to make conversation about the occupation and about the genocide better than me.
And one way to plug in another example of how a small model of courageous people can expand is the joint memorial ceremony and our joint Nakba ceremony. So the joint memorial ceremony, we make it available to broadcast live to any community, wherever you are. That happens on the Israeli Yom HaZikaron, the Israeli Memorial Day. It started as a very small, 100 people in a small theater. And before COVID, we had 15,000 people. It became the largest Memorial Day ceremony of joint mourning of both of us, connecting our suffering. And of course, there's people who are against it and try to prevent us from doing it. There was some violence in the synagogue this year, but nonetheless, it grows, and we have a big audience, and people see that it's possible. And join Nakba Day, that is newer, and also bring it to your community, show how people commemorate the Nakba together. It's part of all of our history. And these just examples of how when you build it, they will come. But we have to show it. We have to be courageous enough to bring it. And I'm asked by Nicole to ask you to put in the chat, what do you think you can do to help us? Any ideas or suggestions, or just write in the chat. Anything you think you can help with. We always encourage pressuring your your elected members of Congress or any other to really pay attention and really not do the binary us versus them politics, but really advocate for humanity first, for help first, to prevent the violence first. And outside pressures do tend to be effective. When there is pressure from outside, we've seen this in the past, on a particular village to prevent a particular expulsion. If there's enough pressure, they won't do it. They're listening to what's coming out from the outside, because inside there's not a lot of it's still being innovated. So that's what the request to do that, and of course, be in touch with us and sign up to our mailing list for our socials, promote our events and activities, and plug into the work. And I'm going to take it from here to Nicole. Thank you, Nicole, for the Collective Ed series. It's been really, really terrific and fantastic. And the US tour we just had in a few cities, that was really wonderful to see people meet these ideas and this path and this type of leadership. It's quite profound. We went to very complicated places where people have it's very tense, this issue, as you all know. And to see people meet this and react to it, because it takes them away from the regular us versus them type of posture, is quite remarkable. So thank you, Nicole, for doing so much work on this, and I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody. It was such a pleasure, as it always is, to talk to our leadership and our movement.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gili, also for your support and joining us today to moderate this conversation. And also thank you to Rana, Esther, Fatima, and Nuran for your voices today, connecting with us, and also Neda for your translations today as well. We really appreciate you. And yeah, I just want to echo again what Gili was saying, to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, and really even over the last few years. It's been difficult, and we've passed a lot of your love and support on to Combatants for Peace. And I know that they're appreciative of hearing from all of you and your solidarity with each of them. So yes, we're really looking ahead to the next year as well, and hoping to also expand our network of supporters and friends in solidarity with the movement. We hope to do a few more tours. If you think bringing CFP to your community could be possible, please reach out, let us know. We dropped our speaker request form in the chat for you all as well. And then lastly, or two things, we're also bringing our financial year to a close, and we're working really hard to meet our budget for the year, and encourage you, if you're able to give, if you've already given, thank you. It really means so much. It helps support really this essential work that's happening on the ground, to help us keep going. So every gift makes such an impact. And lastly, I want to mention before we go that we have a final special event on December 16th, which you will receive an email about today. That's in partnership with the Gaza Children's Village. And we're going to be raising awareness about this organization working on the ground in Gaza to help over 8,000 orphan children. And we would love for you all to join us for that final call, to join in solidarity, and hear a bit more about how maybe you can participate in some really important, meaningful actions with them. So please look in your emails for this. Thank you again for joining us today, and for all of our speakers. We really appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, great. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.